Our first reserve to be created under that formula was this reserve here in Prince Albert, which was owned by the federal crown, and it was turned over to Peter Ballantyne Cree Nation as a reserve, the first ever urban reserve in Canada, I believe, in Saskatchewan for sure.
Well, I was a chief from Muskeg Lake at the time, and worked a lot with Lester Lafond. He was sort of the guru from Muskeg. Lester found this piece of land here in Saskatoon, which I think had been intended to be a correctional facility at some point, and then was rejected, and then it just lay in fallow for a number of years because it was considered to be just a slough, and Muskeg put a claim on it. And so that started that long journey towards 1988, when we finally were able to acquire the land and then turn it into reserve status.
And once we realized it was available, we did the appropriate BCR in August of '84. Then we did a sort of a backgrounder and briefing to ourselves about what we needed and what we should have and what we should be saying. Then we had our first meeting, I believe was the first week of November, with Mayor Wright. Their response was, it's economic development, it's good, great. We had been looking at that land. Too bad we didn't move on it. It's yours now, I guess. We'll have to work it out.
It became evident when we were campaigning earlier before '82 and then into '82, the so-called 76 formula was not really doing the job. Any of the obligations that we had as a government were seemed to be difficult to carry out under that formula because it was unoccupied Crown land. Well, there's not a lot of economic development tied to unoccupied Crown land. And so, you know, if we could modify that formula so we could get on with obligations that we had, it was a debt anyway. So you might as well settle the debt in a productive fashion. So one, it's honorable, and two, it's creative.
They recognized that there would be a change in their capacity to generate income. And it wasn't that First Nations or Indians were going to own the land, it was that they were going to lose the use of the land. And they had relied on it as part of their livelihood. And although many of them believed there should be a settlement, they didn't see why it should be on the shoulders of the ranchers and the farmers who were using those pastures. And I think the FSIN at that time agreed.
When it came time to settle, nobody could agree on the time of the count of the population to which the 160 acres per person, or 640, or whatever it is for a family of 5, would be based. And of course the feds said, oh no, it's based on time of first survey. The Indians said, no, it's based on current numbers, and so on. So finally, back and forth a lot, there was an agreement with the province and the feds and the Indian groups that 1976 would be the basis for the count. And so they started to make available unoccupied Crown land, and lo and behold, occupancy in 1930 and occupancy in 1976, two quite different concepts. There was no money to compensate leaseholders and people who held rights in occupied Crown land. The two governments changed, the one in Ottawa and the one in Regina, and the new governments had no understanding of what the game was all about, and so it fell apart.